Chapter 1. Lilybloom, the protagonist, finds herself on the rooftop of a building in Boston, lost in thought after her father's funeral earlier that day. She reflects on how difficult it was to deliver the eulogy and how she felt no real sadness over his passing due to his abusive nature. The tension with her mother is evident, as she knows her honesty in the speech was not well received. She contemplates how people who take their own lives might feel in their final moments and whether they regret their decision. As she sits on the rooftop, she appreciates the solitude and the fresh air, considering it her own space to breathe after such an emotionally draining day. Her moment of solitude is interrupted when a man named Rylekincaid joins her. He is visibly frustrated, kicking a chair in anger. She observes him quietly, intrigued by his reaction. Eventually, they strike up a conversation, and he reveals that he is a neurosurgeon who has just lost a patient. Their conversation is light yet meaningful, revealing Ryle's deep passion for his work and his frustration with cases he cannot save. They engage in a game where they tell each other naked truths, honest, unfiltered thoughts. Ryle confesses he has no interest in relationships and is only interested in casual flings, while Lily admits she does not engage in flings and is looking for something more. The chemistry between them is undeniable, but they recognize that they want different things. However, there is an unspoken connection that makes it difficult for them to simply walk away from each other. As Ryle prepares to leave, he takes a photo of Lily, stating he wants to remember the moment, even though they will likely never see each other again. His parting words to her are that he hopes she defies the odds and achieves her dreams. Lily is left feeling a strange mix of curiosity and disappointment, realizing she enjoyed their conversation more than she expected. As she reflects on the encounter, Lily thinks about her past and how she used to write letters to Ellen DeGeneres as a coping mechanism. This reminds her of Atlascorrigan, a homeless boy she once knew as a teenager. His presence in her thoughts foreshadows that he will play a significant role in her story. The first chapter sets up Lily's emotional complexity, her past trauma, and her encounter with Ryle as a pivotal moment in her journey. It also introduces a theme of naked truths, which becomes significant in her relationships moving forward. Chapter 2. The chapter opens with Lily at home in her Boston apartment, still processing her father's funeral and the surprising rooftop encounter with Rylekincaid. She shares an apartment with Lucy, her vibrant and somewhat chaotic roommate, who is rushing around getting ready for a night out. As Lucy leaves, she informs Lily that she won't be coming home, emphasizing their independent lives despite sharing a living space. With the apartment now quiet, Lily turns her attention to an old shoebox full of keepsakes from her childhood home, which she brought back after her father's funeral. These items hold memories she hasn't confronted in a long time, including a small wooden heart and several diaries. The sight of these diaries transports her back to her teenage years. She remembers how, instead of keeping a traditional journal, she wrote letters to Ellen DeGeneres, as if Ellen were a confidant who could understand her struggles. Lily finds one particular diary from when she was 15 and starts reading, unlocking a flood of memories about Atlascorrigan, a homeless boy she secretly helped. The first entry she reads details how she first noticed Atlas sneaking in and out of an abandoned house behind her own. Initially, she didn't understand why he was there, but she soon realized he was living in the abandoned house in secret, trying to survive without anyone knowing. Lily recalls how she observed Atlas from a distance, noticing his thin frame and worn-out clothes. The diary entry describes her internal struggle. She knew she should probably tell her mother, but she also worried about what would happen to him if someone found out. Instead, she decided to quietly help him. One day, after realizing that some of her garden's radishes had been taken, she connected the dots and figured out Atlas was taking them for food. Rather than feeling angry, she felt a deep sense of sympathy and decided to leave him a small bag of food on the back porch, knocking loudly before running back to her room. The next time she looked, the bag was gone, confirming that he had taken it. That was the first moment she realized just how much Atlas was struggling, and she became determined to help him in any way she could. The memory leaves Lily feeling emotional, but she is soon interrupted when her phone rings. It's her mother. To Lily's horror, her mother casually mentions that she is considering moving to Boston. This news completely unsettles Lily, as she moved to Boston to gain independence, and the thought of her mother being nearby makes her feel trapped. After the call, she tries to distract herself, but the anxiety lingers. Cleaning becomes her temporary outlet, though deep down she knows she needs something bigger, something to truly call her own. The chapter ends with Lily feeling torn between her past and present, uncertain about what her future holds, but realizing she might need a new direction. Chapter 3. 6 months have passed since Lily last saw Ryle on the rooftop. During this time, she has made a major life decision. She quit her job at a marketing firm and bought a storefront in Boston to open her own flower shop. The chapter begins with Lily showing the space to her mother, who seems skeptical about the whole idea. The building was previously a restaurant, so it is still filled with old tables, chairs, and kitchen equipment. Lily sees its potential, but her mother is not convinced. She tries to be supportive, but makes a pointed comment that whether this venture is brave and bold or stupid will only be determined by whether it succeeds. Though her words are not overtly discouraging, Lily senses her mother's doubt. After her mother leaves, Lily continues inspecting the space, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety about the enormous task ahead. Just then, a woman named Alyssa walks in, having seen an old help wanted sign in the window. Alyssa is friendly and energetic, and though she admits she doesn't need a job, she offers to help Lily with the store's setup simply because she loves interior design. She is stylish, charming, and full of creative ideas. Lily is hesitant at first, but quickly realizes how much she could use an extra set of hands. Alyssa offers to work for free, just for the fun of it, but Lily insists on paying her $10 an hour. As they begin brainstorming, Alyssa proves to be a creative force, suggesting that instead of going for the traditional floral shop aesthetic, they should go for something unexpected. Lily suddenly envisions a bold, unconventional floral shop, one that embraces the darker, edgier side of floral design, rather than the soft, pastel colors most people expect. This sparks excitement in her, reinforcing that this venture is something she truly wants to do. She realizes she is creating more than just a shop. She is taking control of her own future. The chapter ends with Lily feeling grateful for meeting Alyssa, sensing they might become close friends. Alyssa's enthusiasm and support give her the encouragement she needs to fully commit to her vision. As they start planning together, Lily realizes that the shop is more than just a career move. It's a symbol of her independence and a fresh start. However, despite the excitement, she cannot shake the feeling that her past, especially her memories of Alice, will soon resurface. The stage is set for Lily to embark on a journey of self-discovery, but also to face the emotions she has long buried. Chapter 4. Lily struggles to make it to her apartment after spraining her ankle, frustrated that her roommate Lucy doesn't answer her calls for help. When she finally makes it inside, she finds Lucy lounging on the couch, casually chatting on the phone. Irritated by her lack of concern, Lily limps to her bedroom and slams the door shut. She searches for painkillers in her bathroom cabinet, finding some old ones she had stored away, and takes them before collapsing onto her bed. The realization that she will be stuck inside for at least a week frustrates her, making her feel restless and confined. She sends a text to her mother asking for some essentials from the store, begrudgingly admitting to herself that she is glad her mother is now living close by, even if their relationship remains complicated. As Lily lies in bed, she reflects on her feelings toward her late father, particularly the resentment she still harbors. Despite her mother's attempts to protect her from the worst of his behavior, she cannot forget how much harm he caused, both physically and emotionally. The bitterness she holds toward him is still strong, and she wonders if it will ever fully fade. Her thoughts then drift toward Atlas, the boy she had once cared for deeply. She realizes she has been too busy with work and her mother's move to continue reading the old journal entries she had started months ago. Now, with her forced downtime, she decides to revisit them. Lily hops to her closet and retrieves the journal, struggling with her injury. As she settles back into bed, she flips through the pages, reminiscing about the time she first met Atlas. The entry she reads recounts how she had let Atlas into her home again despite knowing the risks. She recalls how he had boarded the school bus with her the next morning, looking much happier than the day before. She had noticed how strange it was to see him wearing her father's old clothes, but they fit him surprisingly well. The memory of their growing bond stirs something deep within her, making her realize how significant he was in her life at that time. Alice had surprised her that morning by pulling something from his backpack, a bag of cleaned-up shoes he had found in a garage. He had tried to restore them as best as he could, revealing his thoughtful and resourceful nature. Lily had been touched by his gesture, recognizing that he wanted to express his gratitude in any way he could. The chapter ends with Lily deeply lost in thought, feeling both nostalgic and uneasy about the resurfacing memories of Alice. She wonders why she is thinking about him so much lately, and whether his presence in her past still has the power to affect her present. Chapter 5. The chapter opens with Lily preparing for the official opening of her flower shop. She and Elisa have been working tirelessly to get everything ready, and despite some minor nerves, Lily is incredibly proud of what she has accomplished. The shop is designed to be unconventional. She's avoided traditional pastel flower arrangements in favor of bold and unique combinations. The excitement of finally bringing her dream to life is overwhelming. As she and Elisa stand at the entrance, they flip the sign to open, marking the beginning of a new chapter for Lily. Elisa's playful personality keeps the atmosphere light as they wait for their first customer, making jokes about their soft opening and how they are their own biggest fans. Just as they are celebrating the moment, the door swings open and Lily's first customer walks in. To her complete shock, it is Rylekincaid. Seeing him again after 6 months is entirely unexpected, and she freezes as he takes in the shop's transformation. He's clearly impressed, commenting on how incredible it looks, but Lily is overwhelmed by his presence. Alisa, who is Ryle's sister, is excited to see him and throws her arms around him in a warm hug. Lily, on the other hand, feels an odd mix of excitement and unease. While Ryle is charismatic and confident, she cannot shake the intense memories of their first meeting on the rooftop. Ryle quickly makes himself at home, exploring the shop and touching everything as if he belongs there. He then approaches the counter and without hesitation asks to buy a bouquet. He selects a vase filled with purple lilies, clearly an intentional choice, as the flowers share her name. When Elisa jokes that he needs to actually pay to be considered a customer, he waves it off and insists that he wants to support Lily's business. The moment is thick with unspoken tension between them, as Lily is unsure of what his reappearance in her life means. Despite this, she finds herself charmed by his presence all over again, even though she knows he has made it clear that he does not do relationships. After Ryle leaves, Lily feels both exhilarated and confused. His unexpected return into her life stirs emotions she thought she had put aside. As she cleans up the shop and prepares for the rest of the day, she reflects on how different her life has become since moving to Boston. She has built something of her own, yet she still feels haunted by her past. The encounter with Ryle leaves her questioning whether their meeting was fate or just another coincidence. More importantly, she wonders if she should let herself get close to him again, despite knowing that his views on relationships have not changed. Chapter 6. Weeks have passed since Ryle's visit to the shop, and his presence continues to linger in Lily's mind. She finds herself wondering about him more than she should, but she pushes those thoughts aside, focusing instead on growing her business. The shop has been doing well, thanks in part to Alias's creativity and support. Their partnership has flourished, and Alias's bubbly energy has made long workdays more enjoyable. One afternoon, as they are arranging a new display, the front door opens, and Lily is stunned to see Ryle once again. This time, he isn't just a customer, he has brought someone with him. To Lily's surprise, Ryle introduces her to Marshall, Alice's husband, who is just as charming and playful as his wife. The group falls into easy conversation, and Ryle remains unusually attentive to Lily. Unlike their rooftop meeting months ago, he seems to be making an effort to keep the conversation lighthearted and enjoyable. Lily finds herself enjoying their banter, despite knowing that she should be careful. When the conversation turns to relationships, Ryle playfully reiterates that he is still not looking for anything serious. This reminder stings, but Lily does her best to hide her disappointment. As the evening progresses, Ryle lingers even after Marshall and Elisa leave. He helps Lily clean up the shop, their conversation growing more personal. He asks about her life and her past, and she shares a few details, though she keeps certain memories to herself. As they talk, the air between them shifts, and the attraction that was present during their first meeting resurfaces. Eventually, Ryle leans in and presses a soft kiss to her shoulder, a seemingly innocent yet undeniably intimate gesture. Lily tenses, unsure of how to respond, but before she can say anything, Ryle steps back. as if recognizing that he is pushing a boundary. The moment leaves Lily flustered and confused. She had convinced herself that Ryle was nothing more than a passing stranger, but now he keeps showing up, making it harder to ignore the connection between them. As she closes up the shop for the night, she replays the encounter in her mind, torn between wanting to protect herself and wanting to see where this might lead. She knows she should be cautious, but there's something about Ryle that makes it difficult to walk away. Chapter 7. Lily is still processing Ryle's unexpected reappearance in her life. After his visit to the flower shop, she can't seem to shake thoughts of him, despite knowing that he isn't looking for a relationship. That night, unable to sleep, she finds herself going through more of her old journal entries about Atlas. She recalls the time when she began sneaking food to him more regularly, worried about his well-being as the weather turned colder. The more time she spent around him, the more she realized how kind and intelligent he was despite his circumstances. In one entry, she writes about how Atlas always tried to maintain a sense of dignity, refusing to let her see just how much he was struggling. Even though he was homeless, he insisted on keeping himself clean and presentable, which only made her admire him more. As Lily gets lost in her memories, she recalls a particularly emotional day when she saw Atlas without a proper coat in the middle of winter. She was determined to help him, but knew she had to do so carefully to avoid her parents noticing. One evening, she left a note in his hiding spot telling him to meet her behind the school gym after classes. When he showed up, she handed him an old jacket of her father's, pretending she had no use for it anymore. Atlas hesitated to accept it at first, but his gratitude was evident when he finally took it. That moment cemented their growing bond, making Lily realize just how deeply she cared for him. Just as she finishes reading the entry, her phone buzzes with an unexpected text message from Ryle. He tells her he can't stop thinking about their rooftop conversation from 6 months ago and that he wants to see her again. Lily is caught off guard by his sudden interest, considering how adamant he was about avoiding relationships. She debates whether she should respond, remembering how she vowed to protect herself from getting hurt. Yet she can't ignore the pull she feels toward him, nor can she ignore the way he makes her feel. The chapter ends with Lily lying awake in bed, torn between her past and her present. Atlas had once been her everything, but Ryle's presence in her life is beginning to create new emotions she isn't sure she can ignore. She realizes she is standing at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take. Her heart is caught between the memories of first love and the possibilities of something new, and she isn't sure which one is stronger. Chapter 8. Lily decides to meet Ryle for dinner after his persistent texts, curious about what he has to say. When she arrives at the restaurant, she is surprised by how nervous she feels. Ryle, on the other hand, appears confident and relaxed, which only adds to her growing attraction to him. He wastes no time telling her that he has changed his mind about relationships. Something about her has made him reconsider his previous stance. Lily is skeptical, knowing how firm he was in his beliefs before. She questions whether he truly wants something serious or if he's just caught up in the excitement of the moment. Ryle, ever the charmer, tells Lily that he doesn't want to miss out on something that could be special. He explains that he has spent the past few months thinking about her, realizing that she might be the exception to his rule. Though his words are persuasive, Lily remains cautious. She doesn't want to fall for someone who isn't ready to commit, yet she finds it increasingly difficult to resist him. As the night progresses, the tension between them builds, and Ryle makes it clear that he wants to pursue something real with her. His persistence is intoxicating, and Lily finds herself wanting to believe him. After dinner, Ryle walks Lily home, and the chemistry between them becomes impossible to ignore. When they reach her apartment, he hesitates before leaning in and kissing her. The kiss is electric, and Lily realizes she hasn't felt this kind of spark in a long time. For a moment, she lets herself forget about the risks and simply enjoys the way he makes her feel. However, as soon as the moment ends, doubt creeps back in. She wonders if Ryle is truly capable of being in a relationship, or if she is setting herself up for heartbreak. As she closes the door behind her, she leans against it, overwhelmed by emotions. She knows she should proceed with caution, but her heart is telling her to take the risk. The chapter ends with Lily staring at her phone, debating whether she should text Ryle and take the first step towards something new. She knows that whatever decision she makes will change everything, and for the first time in a long time, she feels scared but excited about what's to come. Chapter 9. Lily and Ryle officially start seeing each other, though they both agree to take things slowly. Despite her initial reservations, Lily finds herself enjoying his company more than she expected. Ryle is attentive, charming, and makes her feel like she is the only person in the world when he is with her. Their connection deepens, and she begins to see a softer side of him that he rarely shows others. However, there are still moments where she wonders if he is truly capable of commitment. She tries to push these doubts aside, telling herself to enjoy the present rather than worry about the future. As their relationship progresses, Ryle surprises Lily by showing up at her shop unannounced, bringing coffee and pastries. The gesture catches her off guard, and she realizes just how much effort he is putting into proving himself to her. She appreciates the way he makes her feel special, and for the first time, she starts to believe that he might actually be serious about their relationship. Elisa, who has become one of Lily's closest friends, teases her about how smitten she looks, further fueling Lily's excitement. Later that night, Lily finds herself reminiscing about Atlas again. She reopens her journal and reads an entry about the night she snuck him into her house when the temperatures dropped dangerously low. She had let him sleep in the guest room, terrified that her parents would find out. Even in his most vulnerable state, Atlas had tried to reassure her that he would be fine. Reading the entry fills Lily with a deep longing, making her question whether she has ever truly moved on from him. The chapter ends with Lily closing the journal, her heart heavy with emotions. She knows she should focus on Ryle and the happiness he is bringing her, but she can't shake the feeling that her past with Atlas is still unresolved. The lingering memories of her first love continue to haunt her, making her wonder if she will ever be able to fully give herself to someone else. Chapter 10. Lily and Ryle's relationship continues to intensify, and for the most part, things seem perfect. He is passionate about his work, driven in his ambitions, and attentive to her needs. She finds herself falling for him despite the nagging doubts that occasionally creep in. One evening, as they spend time together at her apartment, Ryle opens up about his childhood. He reveals that he has a complicated past, one that has shaped his views on relationships and commitment. His vulnerability takes Lily by surprise, making her feel even closer to him. However, the evening takes a surprising turn when Ryle suddenly becomes frustrated over something minor. His reaction is brief, but it unsettles Lily, reminding her of past moments with her father. She brushes it off, telling herself that everyone has moments of anger. Ryle quickly apologizes, assuring her that it was nothing. Wanting to believe him, she pushes the thought away and allows herself to enjoy the rest of the night. As she lies in bed later, she reflects on her growing feelings for Ryle. She knows she is falling for him, but a small voice inside her tells her to be careful. Despite how wonderful things seem on the surface, she can't shake the feeling that there is something just beneath the surface that she hasn't fully seen yet. The chapter ends with Lily deciding to fully invest in her relationship with Ryle, choosing to trust him despite her reservations. Chapter 11. Lily is alone in her apartment, struggling to come to terms with the whirlwind of emotions she has been experiencing. Her relationship with Ryle has been developing at a fast pace, but her past with Atlas lingers in her mind like a shadow she can't quite shake. In an attempt to find closure, she opens her journal again, diving deeper into her teenage memories. She recalls how Atlas fell seriously ill one winter and had nowhere else to go. She had secretly let him into her house at night, sneaking him food and medicine to help him recover. The fear that her parents might find out made every interaction between them feel more dangerous, but she knew she couldn't turn him away. As she continues reading, she remembers one particular night when Atlas had a fever so high that he could barely stand. Desperate to help, she convinced him to sleep in her bed instead of the floor, just for the night. Atlas had initially refused, but eventually exhaustion won over, and he relented. She stayed awake most of the night, listening to his ragged breathing, wondering how someone so kind and intelligent had ended up in such a terrible situation. That night, she promised herself that she would always help people in need, no matter what. The entry ends with a heartbreaking revelation. Atlas had whispered to her that she was the first person to ever truly care about him. The weight of that moment crashes over Lily, making her realize how deeply she had loved him. She closes the journal, her heart aching. Even though she is now in a relationship with Ryle, she cannot deny the lingering connection she still feels toward Atlas. She wonders what became of him, and if he ever thinks about her. As she tries to push the past aside, her phone buzzes with a message from Ryle. He tells her that he wants to see her, that he can't stop thinking about her. The timing feels strange, almost as if the universe is testing her. She knows she has to make a decision about whether she will fully embrace her future with Ryle or continue holding on to the past. With a deep breath, she decides to meet him, pushing Atlas to the back of her mind, for now. Chapter 12. Lily meets Ryle for dinner at a high-extent restaurant, and the moment she sees him, she realizes just how much she has missed him. His charm is as captivating as ever, and he is eager to convince her that he is serious about their relationship. He tells her that he has never felt this way about anyone before, that she makes him want to be a better man. His words are intoxicating, and Lily finds herself wanting to believe him. However, a small voice in the back of her mind reminds her that Ryle has always said he doesn't do relationships. As they talk over dinner, Ryle opens up about his career as a neurosurgeon. He confesses how much pressure he is under, how the weight of making life or death decisions daily has changed him. Lily listens intently, realizing that there is much more to him than his confident exterior. He seems vulnerable in a way she hasn't seen before, and it makes her feel closer to him. She wants to trust him, but she can't ignore the warning signs that he might not be as emotionally available as she needs him to be. After dinner, Ryle walks Lily home, and there is an undeniable tension between them. When they reach her doorstep, he hesitates, as if debating whether to kiss her. Instead, he gently tucks a strand of hair behind her ear and whispers, "Naked truth?" She nods, and he tells her that he is terrified of falling for her. The confession catches her off guard, but before she can respond, he kisses her, soft and slow at first, then more intense. The moment is electric, and all her doubts fade as she melts into him. As the night ends, Ryle leaves, promising to see her again soon. Lily closes the door, leaning against it as she processes everything. She knows she should be cautious, but she also knows she is already falling for him. The excitement of something new pulls her forward, but the past still lingers in the shadows, waiting to resurface. Chapter 13. Lily and Ryle's relationship continues to blossom, and for a while everything feels perfect. He is attentive, passionate, and makes her feel like the most important person in his world. He surprises her with small gestures, dropping by the flower shop with coffee, sending her sweet messages throughout the day, and making an effort to be part of her life. She finds herself opening up to him in ways she never expected, allowing herself to believe that this could be real. One evening, Ryle comes over to her apartment and they cook dinner together. The moment feels domestic and intimate, as if they have known each other for years. As they eat, Ryle asks her about her childhood, and she hesitates before telling him about her father's abusive nature. She downplays it, not wanting to make the evening heavy, but Ryle sees through her. He reaches across the table, takes her hand, and tells her she deserves happiness, that she deserves to be loved without fear. The tenderness of the moment is overwhelming, and Lily feels something shift between them. Later that night, as they lie in bed together, Ryle whispers that he doesn't want to lose her. She reassures him that she isn't going anywhere, but deep down, she wonders if he truly believes that. The way he clings to her, as if afraid she will disappear, makes her question whether he has his own unresolved fears. Just as she is drifting off to sleep, a memory of Atlas flashes through her mind. His face, his voice, the way he had once held her as if she were his entire world. The thought unsettles her, making her feel guilty. She quickly pushes it away, reminding herself that Atlas is her past and Ryle is her future. Chapter 14. Lily and Ryle's relationship continues to intensify, but an undercurrent of tension begins to creep in. One evening, while preparing dinner together, Ryle accidentally drops a glass bowl, shattering it on the kitchen floor. He curses under his breath, his frustration evident. Lily moves to help clean it up, but when she reaches for a shard of glass at the same time as Ryle, he reacts instinctively, grabbing her wrist too tightly. The moment is brief, but something about it unsettles her. He immediately lets go and apologizes, brushing it off as nothing. She tells herself it was just a fluke, that he didn't mean it, but a small seed of doubt is planted. Later that night, as she lies in bed, she reopens her journal, seeking comfort in the past. She reads an entry about the time Atlas had disappeared for several days, leaving her worried sick. When he finally returned, he looked worse than ever, bruised, exhausted, and barely able to stand. He had been caught sleeping in an abandoned house and had been beaten by the owner. The memory makes Lily's heart ache, reminding her of how fragile he had been, how much she had wanted to protect him. As she closes the journal, she wonders why she keeps coming back to these memories. Is it nostalgia, guilt, or is it something deeper, something she hasn't fully admitted to herself? She tells herself that it doesn't matter, that she is happy with Ryle. But as she drifts off to sleep, she can't ignore the uneasy feeling in her chest. The chapter ends with Lily lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if love should ever make someone feel this conflicted. Chapter 15. Lily is nervous as she prepares for a dinner that she and Ryle are attending with Alisa and Marshall. The dinner is at a restaurant that Ryle has been raving about, and she has a sinking feeling in her stomach about the location. As they enter, her worst fears are confirmed. This is the restaurant where Atlas works. The moment she sees him, she freezes, memories flooding back to her in an overwhelming wave. Atlas has changed since she last saw him. He looks stronger, more mature, and carries himself with confidence. However, the shock in his eyes when he sees her is unmistakable. Atlas approaches their table professionally, keeping his composure as he takes their drink orders. Ryle, completely unaware of their history, doesn't sense the tension between them. Lily struggles to maintain her composure, but Atlas's presence shakes her in a way she wasn't prepared for. When he finally walks away, her heart is pounding, and she feels like she might not be able to get through the night. Alisa, noticing her discomfort, asks if she is okay, but Lily brushes it off, claiming she's just tired. As the night progresses, Lily finds it increasingly difficult to focus on the conversation at the table. Ryle is completely engrossed in a discussion about work with Marshall, while she is hyper-aware of Atlas moving around the restaurant. At one point, their eyes meet, and Lily can see the emotions swirling in his gaze: shock, hurt, maybe even a bit of anger. She wonders if he thinks she has moved on completely, that she has forgotten what they once had. The thought makes her feel an unbearable weight in her chest. When the bill finally arrives, Atlas subtly slips a note beneath her plate before walking away. She hesitates before unfolding it, her hands trembling. The words make her stomach drop. "You're better than this." The message is clear. He thinks Ryle isn't good enough for her, but more than that, it's a reminder of their past and how much he once cared about her. As she sits there in stunned silence, she realizes that Atlas's presence in her life isn't over. Not by a long shot. Chapter 16. Lily can't stop thinking about Atlas's note. His words play on a loop in her mind, making her question everything. She knows she should ignore it. She is moved on, she is with Ryle now, and Atlas is part of her past. But something about the note lingers, making her feel conflicted. The next morning, she finds herself outside the restaurant, unable to resist the urge to see Atlas again. She isn't sure what she hopes to accomplish, but she needs to talk to him. When she finally sees Atlas, he is surprised but not unwelcoming. They step aside to talk, and the tension between them is palpable. Atlas is blunt. He tells her that he doesn't trust Ryle, that he can sense something off about him. Lily immediately gets defensive, insisting that Ryle is a good man, that she is happy. Atlas doesn't push, but his concern is evident. He tells her that if she ever needs anything, she knows where to find him. The conversation leaves Lily rattled, making her wonder why Atlas's opinion still matters so much to her. That evening, Ryle senses that something is off with Lily. She tries to act normal, but he sees through her. He presses her about it, and after some hesitation, she admits that Atlas was at the restaurant. To her surprise, Ryle doesn't get angry, at least not at first. Instead, he laughs it off, saying that it's funny how small the world is. But there's something in his tone that unsettles Lily, a tightness in his jaw that makes her uneasy. As they prepare for bed, Ryle casually asks her if Atlas was ever more than just a friend. Lily hesitates before answering, and that hesitation is all Ryle needs. His demeanor shifts instantly. His playfulness is gone, replaced by something darker. Lily assures him that her past with Atlas is irrelevant, but she can see that Ryle is struggling to accept it. The chapter ends with Lily lying awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the first seeds of doubt creeping into her mind. Chapter 17. Tensions between Lily and Ryle begin to build after their conversation about Atlas. Ryle starts to act differently, not outright angry, but distant, as if something is simmering beneath the surface. Lily tries to convince herself that it's nothing, that Ryle is just tired from work, but she can't shake the feeling that something has changed. She wonders if Atlas's presence has disrupted the balance in their relationship, and it scares her. A few days later, Lily is working late at the flower shop when Ryle unexpectedly shows up. He seems agitated, but she brushes it off, assuming he's just had a stressful day. As they talk, he casually asks more questions about Atlas, how long they knew each other, how close they were. Lily answers honestly, trying to reassure him that Atlas was just a part of her past. But when she mentions that Atlas had been homeless when they were teenagers, Ryle's reaction takes her by surprise. He scoffs, making a dismissive comment about Atlas being a charity case. His words sting, and for the first time, Lily feels a flicker of anger toward him. Their conversation quickly escalates into an argument. Ryle accuses Lily of keeping secrets from him, while Lily insists that her past with Atlas is none of his business. The tension boils over when Ryle slams his hand against the counter, startling her. The moment is brief, but it sends a wave of fear through Lily. He immediately apologizes, claiming it was just a reflex, that he would never hurt her. Lily wants to believe him, but something about the moment feels eerily familiar, like the fights her parents used to have, where, after Ryle leaves, Lily sinks onto the floor, feeling completely drained. She tells herself that it was just a bad moment, that Ryle didn't mean it, but deep down she knows that something has shifted between them. She replays the moment in her mind, questioning whether this was just an isolated incident or a warning sign of something worse. Chapter 18. Lily is feeling on edge after her argument with Ryle, but she tries to move forward as if nothing is wrong. She throws herself into work, trying to distract herself. Meanwhile, Ryle seems to be making an effort to smooth things over. He sends her flowers, leaves sweet notes, and acts as if nothing happened. Lily wants to let it go, but a part of her can't forget the anger she saw in his eyes that night. Ryle invites Lily to dinner with his parents, an event she has been both looking forward to and dreading. She knows how much he wants their approval, and she wants to make a good impression. When they arrive, his parents are warm and welcoming, showering Lily with compliments. She finds herself relaxing, enjoying the evening, despite her earlier worries. Everything seems perfect, until an innocent joke changes everything. During dinner, Alisa teases Lily about how quickly she and Ryle moved in together. She jokes that Ryle practically moved himself in without asking. The comment is lighthearted, but Lily notices Ryle's grip tighten around his fork. His smile falters for just a second before he regains his composure. No one else seems to notice, but Lily does. She realizes in that moment that Ryle does not like being teased or questioned. Later that night, when they are alone, Lily mentions Ali Saad's joke, laughing about how true it was. Ryle's reaction is instant. His face darkens and his jaw tightens. Without warning, he throws his glass across the room, shattering it against the wall. Lily flinches, fear gripping her. The room falls into an eerie silence as Ryle stares at the broken glass, his chest rising and falling rapidly. He turns to Lily, his expression filled with regret. "I'm sorry," he whispers, his voice shaking. "I don't know why I did that." But Lily does. She has seen this before. She has lived this before. And in that moment, she realizes that the cycle she swore she would never repeat might have already begun. Chapter 19. Lily is deeply unsettled after witnessing Ryle's latest outburst, but she convinces herself that it was just a momentary lapse in control. He apologized immediately, after all, and she doesn't want to overthink it. To distract herself, she throws herself into work at the flower shop, trying to focus on something positive. However, the nagging feeling that something isn't right refuses to leave her. She replays the incident in her mind over and over, questioning whether it was an isolated event or a glimpse into something darker. One evening, Ryle surprises Lily by showing up at the shop with dinner. He's back to his charming, affectionate self, acting as if nothing happened. He showers her with attention, kissing her forehead and making jokes to lighten the mood. Lily wants to believe that things are fine, that the tension from before was just a misunderstanding. Ryle reassures her that he loves her, that he's never felt this way about anyone before, and she finds herself melting under his words. She tells herself that this is what love is, complicated, messy, but worth it. Later that night, as they lie in bed together, Lily opens up about her father again, telling Ryle about the things she witnessed as a child. She confesses how she always told herself she would never end up in a situation like her mother's. Ryle listens carefully, his expression unreadable. When she finishes, he pulls her close and promises that he will never be like her father. He swears that he would never hurt her intentionally, that she is the best thing that has ever happened to him. As she falls asleep, Lily wants to believe him. She wants to believe that love is enough to change someone, that Ryle is different. But a small, persistent voice inside her tells her to be careful. That voice reminds her that her mother used to say the same things about her father, and it wasn't enough to stop the cycle from repeating. Chapter 20. The next morning, Lily is still conflicted, but she pushes her doubts aside and focuses on preparing for Alisa's baby shower. As she and Alisa go over the final details, she's relieved to have something else to think about. Alisa is excited, glowing with happiness, and Lily finds comfort in her friend's joy. It's a reminder that love doesn't have to be complicated or painful. It can be simple and fulfilling, like Alisa and Marshall's relationship. During the shower, everything goes smoothly and Lily finds herself genuinely happy. Ryle arrives toward the end of the party, his usual confident self, and the tension from the past few days seems to have disappeared. However, as Lily watches him interact with everyone, she can't shake the feeling that something is off. He's too perfect, too careful, as if he's trying to prove something. She wonders if he's putting on a show, making sure that no one ever suspects that things between them aren't always as perfect as they seem. As the party winds down, Alisa pulls Lily aside and thanks her for all her help. She tells Lily how happy she is that she and Ryle are together, that she's never seen her brother care about someone the way he cares about Lily. Lily smiles, but the weight in her chest only grows heavier. She wants to believe Alisa's words, but a part of her knows that love isn't always enough to keep someone from hurting the person they claim to care about. That night, after the guests leave, Lily and Ryle head home together. He's affectionate, attentive, and completely devoted to her. As they lie in bed, he tells her again how much he loves her, and for the moment, Lily lets herself believe him. Chapter 21. A week later, Lily is closing up the flower shop when she receives an unexpected visitor, Atlas. She's completely caught off guard, her heart racing as she takes in the sight of him standing in her shop. He looks different than before, calmer, more put together. But there's still something in his eyes that reminds her of the boy she once knew. He hesitates before speaking, as if he isn't sure whether he should be there. Atlas tells Lily that he's been thinking about their last encounter, about the note he left her, and he wanted to explain himself. He says he didn't mean to overstep, but he can't ignore the feeling that something is wrong. He tells her that he saw the way Ryle looked at him at the restaurant, the barely contained anger in his eyes. Lily tries to brush it off, but Atlas doesn't back down. He tells her that if she ever needs anything at all, he's there for her. Lily is overwhelmed, torn between gratitude and frustration. She doesn't want Atlas involved in her life, doesn't want him stirring up emotions she's tried to bury. She tells him that she's fine, that Ryle is good to her, but Atlas doesn't look convinced. He doesn't push further, though. Instead, he gives her a sad smile and tells her that she deserves to be happy, truly happy. After Atlas leaves, Lily stands frozen in the shop, replaying the conversation in her mind. She knows he was only trying to help, but his words have left her shaken. She hates that he can still see right through her, that he can sense the doubts she hasn't even admitted to herself. As she locks up and heads home, she wonders if she's been lying to herself this whole time. Chapter 22. Lily arrives home to find Ryle waiting for her, his expression unreadable. The moment she steps inside, she knows something is wrong. He asks her where she's been, and when she tells him she was closing up the shop, his face darkens. He asks her again, this time his voice harder, and she realizes he already knows. Her heart starts pounding as she sees the anger in his eyes. She barely has time to react before Ryle slams his hand against the counter, his entire body shaking with rage. He accuses her of lying, of sneaking around with Atlas behind his back. Lily is shocked, trying to calm him down, but he isn't listening. He's spiraling, and for the first time, she feels real fear. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stops. Ryle steps back, his face crumpling as if he realizes what he's done. He runs his hands through his hair, muttering apologies over and over. He tells her he didn't mean it, that he just lost control for a second. Lily stands there, frozen, unable to process what just happened. Ryle steps forward and takes her hands, his eyes pleading. He tells her that he loves her, that he would never hurt her. He swears that this will never happen again. Lily wants to believe him. She wants to believe that love can fix this. But deep down, she knows she has just crossed a line she can never uncross. As she lies in bed that night, her mind replays the scene over and over, the fear, the anger, the apology. She remembers her mother's face when she would make excuses for her father, and for the first time, Lily wonders if she's doing the same thing. The realization terrifies her. She turns over and looks at Ryle, who is fast asleep beside her, as if nothing happened, and for the first time, she begins to wonder if she has made a terrible mistake. Chapter 23. Lily wakes up the next morning, still reeling from the confrontation with Ryle. She tries to tell herself that it was just a moment of anger, a misunderstanding that won't happen again. However, a deep sense of unease lingers in her chest. Ryle acts like nothing happened, treating her with the same charm and affection as always, but she can't shake the feeling that something has changed between them. She wonders if she is just overthinking everything, but memories of her parents' relationship make her hesitant to ignore the warning signs. She decides to meet Alisa at her apartment, hoping that spending time with her friend will help clear her mind. Alisa is overjoyed about her pregnancy and excitedly shares baby names and nursery ideas. Lily tries her best to stay engaged, but her thoughts keep drifting back to Ryle. She wonders if she should confide in Alisa, but she stops herself. She doesn't want to ruin Ryle's reputation or make Alisa worry. Instead, she forces a smile and reassures Alisa that everything is fine. That evening, Ryle takes Lily out to dinner, acting as if nothing happened the night before. He is attentive and affectionate, and for a brief moment, Lily convinces herself that she imagined the whole thing. Maybe she really was overreacting. However, when Ryle notices the tension in her expression, he gently asks if she's okay. She hesitates before admitting that she's still shaken from their fight. Ryle immediately apologizes, telling her he never meant to scare her and that it will never happen again. He blames his short temper on stress from work and promises to do better. Lily wants to believe him, and when he reaches for her hand and kisses her knuckles, she feels herself relax. Maybe he really does mean it. Maybe this is just a rough patch and they can get through it together. But as they leave the restaurant, Lily glances at her reflection in the window, and for the first time she wonders if she's lying to herself. Chapter 24. Days pass, and Lily does her best to convince herself that everything is back to normal. She focuses on her flower shop, enjoying the creative outlet it provides. However, the anxiety remains, lurking beneath the surface. She hasn't told anyone about what happened with Ryle, and she keeps going over the incident in her head, trying to justify his behavior. One afternoon, while Lily is working at the shop, Atlas unexpectedly walks in. The sight of him sends a rush of emotions through her, shock, excitement, and guilt all at once. Atlas looks concerned as he asks if she's okay. He tells her that he saw her and Ryle at the restaurant that night and sensed that something was wrong. Lily is immediately defensive, insisting that everything is fine. But Atlas isn't convinced. As they talk, Atlas subtly glances at her arms as if checking for bruises. His concern makes Lily uncomfortable, but deep down she knows it's because he understands her better than anyone. Atlas reminds her that he is always there if she ever needs anything. Before he leaves, he hesitates and tells her something that leaves her shaken. "You don't have to keep repeating history, Lily." His words stay with her long after he's gone. That night, Lily tries to push Atlas's words out of her mind, but they won't go away. When Ryle comes home, she finds herself observing him more closely, looking for signs of the temper she saw before. When he kisses her goodnight and whispers that he loves her, she tells herself that everything is okay. But in the back of her mind, she can't stop thinking about Atlas's warning. Chapter 25. The tension between Lily and Ryle continues to build, but she tries to ignore it. However, one evening, everything comes crashing down. Ryle finds an old journal in her drawer of the journals she used to write as a teenager, filled with letters to Ellen DeGeneres. As he flips through the pages, he stumbles upon her entries about Atlas. Lily is in the kitchen when she hears the sound of something being thrown across the room. When she rushes into the bedroom, she sees Ryle standing there, his face contorted in rage, her journal pages scattered across the floor. He demands to know if she ever slept with Atlas, his voice dangerously low. Lily is caught off guard, struggling to explain that Atlas was part of her past, but Ryle isn't listening. Before she can react, Ryle grabs her wrist tightly, his grip painful. Lily panics as she sees the anger in his eyes. the same anger she saw the night he slammed his fist against the counter. She pleads with him to let go, but instead, he shoves her backward, causing her to hit her head against the counter. Pain explodes through her skull, and for a moment everything goes black. When she regains consciousness, she is lying on the kitchen floor, and Ryle is kneeling beside her, his face stricken with horror. He's apologizing over and over, his hands shaking as he touches her face. "I didn't mean it," he whispers, his voice breaking. "I swear to God, I didn't mean it." Lily is too stunned to move, her mind reeling. She hears his words, but all she can think about is her mother, sitting in the same position years ago after one of her father's outbursts. She wonders if her mother ever felt this same sense of disbelief, this crushing realization that the man she loved was capable of hurting her. Chapter 26. Lily wakes up the next morning in bed, her head throbbing. Ryle had stayed up all night tending to her, refusing to leave her side. He had been gentle, remorseful, kissing her forehead and begging for forgiveness. But no matter how many times he apologized, Lily couldn't shake the memory of what had happened. She spends the day in a daze, avoiding Ryle as much as she can. She tells Alyssa that she isn't feeling well and takes the day off from the flower shop. Alone in her apartment, she stares at the ceiling, replaying the past 24 hours over and over. She knows what she should do. She should leave. But leaving is easier said than done. She loves Ryle, and love isn't supposed to hurt like this. Later that evening, Ryle comes home with flowers, his eyes filled with regret. He tells her that he can't lose her, that she is the best thing that has ever happened to him. He swears it will never happen again, and Lily wants so desperately to believe him. He breaks down in front of her, his vulnerability making it even harder for her to walk away. For the first time, she truly understands what her mother went through. The cycle of abuse isn't always black and white. It's filled with love, apologies, and moments of tenderness that make the bad times feel like they never happened. She thinks about Atlas's warning, about the girl she once was, the girl who swore she would never end up like her mother. But as Ryle pulls her into his arms, whispering how much he loves her, Lily closes her eyes and lets herself believe him. Chapter 27. Lily is still in shock from the latest incident with Ryle. She knows she should leave, but every time she tries to make a decision, she finds herself hesitating. She tells herself that he loves her, that he regrets what happened, and that he swore it would never happen again. But deep down, she knows that this is exactly what her mother used to say about her father. The realization is suffocating. The next morning, Lily wakes up to find Ryle already awake, watching her. His face is filled with remorse as he apologizes again, swearing that he will change. He tells her that he's been under immense stress, that he doesn't even recognize himself anymore. He asks her to be patient with him, to give him one more chance. Lily listens in silence, her emotions torn between love and fear. Later that day, she visits Alisa, hoping to clear her mind. She doesn't tell Alisa what happened, but being in her presence makes her feel temporarily safe. Alisa talks excitedly about her pregnancy and the future, and Lily wonders what it would be like to have a life as simple and happy as hers. As she watches Alisa and Marshall together, she realizes what real love looks like: safe, kind, and respectful. And for the first time, she begins to admit to herself that maybe what she has with Ryle isn't love at all. That night, as she lies in bed next to Ryle, she rereads one of her old journal entries about Atlas. She remembers how safe he made her feel, how he never once made her afraid. The contrast between the past and the present is staggering. As she closes the journal, she makes a silent promise to herself. If Ryle ever lays a hand on her again, she will walk away for good. Chapter 28. A few days later, Lily decides she needs time to think. She tells Ryle she wants to spend the night alone, and he hesitantly agrees. As soon as he leaves, she finds herself craving comfort, and without thinking, she dials Atlas's number. She doesn't even know what she wants to say. She just knows she needs to hear a familiar voice. When he picks up, she nearly hangs up, but instead, she tells him she needs to see him. Atlas meets her at a small cafe, and the moment she sees him, she feels a wave of relief. He doesn't ask questions, doesn't push, he just sits with her and lets her talk. She confesses that she's confused, that she doesn't know what to do about Ryle. Atlas listens carefully before finally speaking. He tells her that she deserves better, that love should never come with fear. His words cut deep, and Lily realizes that she has been making excuses for Ryle the same way her mother did for her father. Atlas offers her a place to stay if she ever needs it, no questions asked. Lily thanks him, but she isn't ready to leave yet. As much as she knows Atlas is right, she still feels tied to Ryle. She tells herself she needs more time to figure things out. Atlas doesn't argue, but before she leaves, he tells her one last thing. You know where to find me when you're ready. As Lily walks home, she feels a storm of emotions. She knows she is standing on the edge of a decision that will change everything. The question is, does she have the strength to make it? Chapter 29. A week passes and things between Lily and Ryle seem to return to normal. He is sweet, attentive, and overly cautious around her. He acts as if he is afraid to even touch her, as if he knows he is on thin ice. For a while, Lily allows herself to believe that maybe he truly has changed. She wants to believe that love is enough. One evening, she and Ryle are having dinner at home when he suddenly brings up the idea of starting a family. The conversation catches Lily off guard, and she freezes. Ryle tells her that he wants a future with her, that he dreams of them having children together. His words should make her happy, but instead they make her feel trapped. That night, as she is getting ready for bed, she feels an unusual wave of nausea. At first she brushes it off as stress, but when she realizes she's late for her period, a sickening thought creeps into her mind. She immediately grabs her phone and calculates the dates. Her hands tremble as she realizes she might be pregnant. Panic grips her as she sits on the bathroom floor, staring at the pregnancy test in her hand. The seconds feel like hours as she waits for the result. When the test finally reveals 2 pink lines, Lily feels her entire world shift. She is carrying Ryle's baby. Tears stream down her face as the realization sinks in. This isn't just about her anymore. She isn't just deciding for herself. She's deciding for the life growing inside her. Chapter 30. Lily spends the next day in a daze, unable to process the reality of her situation. She hasn't told Ryle yet, unsure of how he will react. She feels like she is suffocating under the weight of her emotions. On one hand, she is terrified of bringing a child into a potentially abusive situation. On the other hand, she knows how much Ryle wants to be a father. But is love enough to erase the fear? Later that evening, she finally gathers the courage to tell Lisa. She invites her over and without preamble, blurts out, "I'm pregnant." Elisa's face lights up at first, but when she notices Lily's expression, her smile fades. "Lily, are you happy about this?" she asks gently. Lily doesn't know how to answer. She wants to be happy, she really does, but the truth is, she's scared. Allie senses her hesitation and immediately hugs her. She tells Lily that whatever happens, she isn't alone. The words bring Lily a small sense of comfort, but they don't erase the dread in her chest. The next challenge is telling Ryle. Lily rehearses what she will say over and over in her head, trying to anticipate his reaction. That night, when he comes home, she takes a deep breath and simply says, "Ryle, I'm pregnant." For a moment, he just stares at her as if his brain is struggling to process the words. Then, to her surprise, his entire face lights up with joy. He pulls her into his arms, kissing her over and over, telling her how happy he is. Lily watches his reaction with mixed emotions. He is ecstatic, but she can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. As she lies in bed that night, Ryle's arms wrapped around her, she tries to convince herself that everything will be okay. But deep down, she knows the hardest decisions of her life are still ahead. Chapter 31. Lily struggles with the reality of her pregnancy and the implications of raising a child with Ryle. She knows that keeping her pregnancy a secret is only a temporary solution, but she still hasn't decided how to break the news to Ryle. Her biggest fear is that this child will tie her to him forever, leaving her trapped in a cycle of abuse like her mother was. One day, as she prepares for work, she receives a text from her mother, asking when they can meet. Lily realizes that she has been avoiding her mother, not wanting to tell her about Ryle or the pregnancy. She knows that her mother might downplay the abuse, just as she did with Lily's father, and she isn't ready to hear those justifications. Meanwhile, Alisa continues to check in on Lily, oblivious to the turmoil she is experiencing. Lily appreciates her presence, but feels guilty for keeping such a big secret from her best friend. She knows that if she tells Alisa, it will change everything between them. As Lily contemplates her next move, she rereads her old journal entries about Atlas. His unwavering support and kindness make her question the life she is building with Ryle. She knows that she is standing at a crossroads, and whatever decision she makes will change her life forever. Chapter 32. Lily finally decides to tell her mother about her pregnancy. She visits her at home and struggles to find the right words. When she finally tells her, her mother is initially excited, but that excitement quickly turns to concern when she sees the hesitation in Lily's eyes. Sensing something is wrong, her mother gently asks if she and Ryle are okay. Lily hesitates, debating whether to tell her the full truth, but before she can decide, her mother reaches out and holds her hand. She tells Lily that she knows what it's like to love someone who hurts you, and she regrets the years she spent making excuses for Lily's father. She warns Lily not to make the same mistakes she did. For the first time, Lily sees her mother in a different light. She realizes that her mother wasn't weak, she was just trapped. And now Lily is in the same position. The difference is, she has a choice. Later that night, Lily lies awake in bed, feeling her baby move for the first time. The sensation is overwhelming and she bursts into tears. This baby is real. This baby will need her to be strong. And for the first time, she truly considers what leaving Ryle might mean. Chapter 33. As her pregnancy progresses, Lily starts making preparations for the baby's arrival. Alisa throws her a baby shower, gathering all of their closest friends and family. Ryle's mother even flies in for the occasion, showering Lily with love and excitement for her future grandchild. The event is supposed to be a joyful one, but Lily can't shake the feeling of dread in her stomach. During the shower, Ryle unexpectedly shows up. It's the first time she has seen him in months, and the sight of him fills her with both longing and fear. He acts as if nothing has changed, helping carry her gifts and making small talk with the guests. To an outsider, he appears to be the perfect husband, but Lily knows the truth. As the shower winds down, Lily and Ryle end up alone for the first time in weeks. He tells her he misses her, that he has been miserable without her. He promises that he has changed, that he has been in therapy and is learning to control his temper. He begs for another chance, telling her that he wants to be the father their child deserves. Lily listens in silence, her heart warring with her mind. She wants to believe him, but she knows that promises alone won't be enough. She tells him she needs time, and he reluctantly agrees, but as he leaves, she sees the same flicker of anger in his eyes that she has seen before, and she wonders if he will ever truly change. Chapter 34. With only a few weeks left before the baby arrives, Lily spends her time preparing the nursery. She paints a mural on the wall, filling the room with warmth and color. It's a project that brings her peace, a small way to reclaim control over her life. One night, as she finishes the final touches, she impulsively texts Ryle, inviting him to see the nursery. She tells herself that he deserves to be a part of this child's life, that he should at least see the space she has created for their baby. When he arrives, he is visibly emotional. He walks around the nursery in awe, touching the walls and rocking the swing she set up. He tells her that he is proud of her, that she is going to be an incredible mother. For a brief moment, things feel normal, like they are just two people excited to welcome their child. But then Ryle turns to her and asks if they can start over. He tells her that they can be a family, that he will do whatever it takes to earn her trust again. Lily wants to believe him, but she knows deep down that love isn't supposed to be this hard. As he leaves, he kisses her forehead and whispers, "I love you, Lily." She doesn't respond. Instead, she watches him walk away, knowing that she has already made her decision. She just isn't ready to say it out loud yet. Chapter 35. Lily's pregnancy is nearing its end, and she has settled into a routine with Ryle, who has been staying with her to support her through the final weeks. Though they remain separated, he has made efforts to prove he is still invested in her and their unborn child. His presence is both comforting and suffocating. He is doing everything right, but the past lingers like a shadow over their interactions. One morning, Lily wakes up to the smell of toast and eggs. Ryle is in the kitchen cooking breakfast, acting as if nothing has changed. He makes small talk, asks about the baby, and reminds her that he'll keep his phone on all day in case she goes into labor. She appreciates his kindness, but keeps an emotional distance. She knows he still hopes they can be a family, but she isn't ready to give him that answer. Throughout the day, Lily feels a strange pressure in her abdomen. At first she brushes it off as normal pregnancy discomfort, but by evening the contractions become more intense. Panic sets in as she realizes she is going into labor. She calls Ryle, who rushes home immediately, his excitement outweighing any nerves. He helps her into the car and speeds to the hospital, his hand gripping hers tightly. As they arrive, the pain intensifies, but Lily finds herself more afraid of the emotional implications than the physical ones. She wonders if bringing their child into the world will change everything, if it will make her forget the pain Ryle has caused. As they wheel her into the delivery room, she realizes this moment is about more than just giving birth. It's about making a choice that will define the rest of her life. Epilogue. Lily gives birth to a beautiful baby girl, Emerson, named after her favorite author. The moment she holds her daughter for the first time, a profound realization washes over her. She cannot let her child grow up in an environment where love and fear coexist. Ryle is overjoyed, tears streaming down his face as he holds his daughter for the first time, but Lily knows she has to make the hardest decision of her life. A few days after bringing Emmy home, Lily sits down with Ryle and tells him that she cannot stay with him. She loves him, but love is not enough when it is tainted with pain. She refuses to let her daughter grow up in a cycle of abuse the same way she did. Ryle is devastated, pleading with her, but deep down he knows she is right. In those 15 minutes, his world shatters. He realizes that, despite everything, Lily is making the best choice for their daughter. As Ryle hands Emmy back to Lily, he wipes his tears and walks away. Lily knows this will be one of the hardest things he has ever endured, but she also knows that one day he will understand. One day he will thank her for breaking the cycle before it could reach their daughter. The epilogue jumps forward nearly a year. Lily is now living independently with Emmy, having moved into her own place close to work. She co-parents with Ryle, and though their relationship remains strained, they have found a way to navigate their new reality. One day, while out walking with Emmy, she unexpectedly runs into Atlas. Seeing Atlas again stirs old emotions, but this time, things are different. She is stronger now. She has survived. As they talk, there is an unspoken understanding between them that maybe, just maybe, their story isn't over yet. The novel ends with Lily kissing her daughter's forehead and whispering a promise. It stops here, with me and you. It ends with us.